Welcome, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising to your November 2025 horoscope. I'm Sarah at Life with Training Wheels, where I utilize Western Tropical Zodiac Astrology, whole sign house system, and other tools to help guide you on your journey of self-discovery and self-empowerment. My goal is to help you realize that life really is a choose your own adventure. You have more control over your life and your thoughts than you think you do, and we really do make this world our reality. One of my favorite quotes is, "Wherever you go, there you are." So if you keep finding yourself in certain situations, good or bad, it may be a time to look into the mirror. If that sounds like something you want to stick around for, a vibe that you can vibe with, then I encourage you to stick around. If this is your first time finding me, thank you for joining me, and I hope you'll stay. If you are returning, thank you so much for returning. Either way, if you could go ahead and engage with this video in some way, like, subscribe, comment, anything like that, it will help my tiny channel grow, and I greatly appreciate it. A little bit of housekeeping before we get into today's astrology. I do have a Your First Astrology course going on right now. It's a 6-week course. I've only emailed out the first course, or the first week's module, and that module is about just learning how to pull up your natal chart, as well as I walk through several tools, several different free websites and an app that I use on my phone as an astrologer, and what I get out of it. Then the other weeks are going to be talking about, how the astrology wheel is set up, what all the little glyphs mean. We're going to look at houses, signs, planets, how to put them all together and read them together, and then look at your rising moon and sun sign. And then from there, I'm gonna teach you how to take videos like this, or more general collective videos, and apply it to your own astrology chart. So this is a beginner's astrology course. You don't need any experience to join, and that is going on now. And I just email out the videos, and then you email back questions, and then from there we can, do another video specifically answering the questions, or whatever we need to do. This class is yours, not mine, so I want you to get the most out of it. I'm also trying to start a Patreon membership that is kind of like a getting to know yourself better monthly membership, where each month I'm going to be teaching a different topic of your natal chart and what it might mean for you, different placements and elements and things like that. And so each month you would get a 20-minute reading on your natal chart, so it's on that topic. So it's kind of, like I said, a getting to know you better monthly subscription. I hope you'll join me for either of those, and the links for those will be in the description box below. And if you're not interested in those but do want to help me in my growth of this channel, as well as this does take a lot of time, there is a link to just simply buy me a coffee. Anything you can contribute or want to donate, I would again be so grateful. Okay, so anyway, let's start getting into the astrology. So if you haven't seen, I have done a collective reading for this month's astrology, and I will link to it right here. I highly recommend you watch that before you watch this, simply because there are a few things that I'm not going to be repeating. The main thing is that Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto are only moving 1 degree, or not even an entire degree, this whole month. They're staying within the same degree. So what I do in that collective reading is I look at those particular degree points and look up and read the Sabian symbol meanings for those. And Sabian symbol meanings for each degree kind of gives a more holistic view of what we're being asked collectively and individually to look at, and like where we are on our evolution's path at this moment of time. And it adds a lot. So I do encourage you to go watch it. The other thing, if you aren't sure how to pull up your natal chart and want to see, if you have any planets or points engaging with this month in particular, I do have a video that I will link right here that teaches you how to pull up your natal chart for free. So check those out, and now let's get into it. So just in case you are not going to watch the collective reading, I will briefly go over the main astrology that I see of this month. And the biggest thing is that all month long we're going to be having a grand water trine. Water is the element that asks us to go with the flow. So we're being asked to go with the flow this month. That's the main message. Water is also very emotional, so we might be a little bit more emotional this month. It's also more intuitive, though, so you may be getting more dreams happening. You may be just feeling like your intuition is more on point. You might suddenly know things or suddenly feel things as perhaps psychic senses come online for you. So those are some things that we could see this month that's really exciting. A lot of Jupiter is involved in this, so there is a lot of opportunity and blessings and abundance perhaps available for us this month with this water grand trine. But sometimes when things are flowing so easily and so nicely, we might miss seeing the opportunities because everything just feels easy. So we might miss the opportunity to take action on something and really get the blessings that are trying to come to us. So a lot of times when there's a lot of trine or sextile energy, you need some type of friction, either to help you see the blessings or to just provide like an action point, right? And luckily this month there are two things that are happening, two main points of challenge, I guess, that are happening all month long that may help us activate those things. So one is a square between Jupiter and Chiron in Aries, and we'll look to see where that is, but that is providing a lot of healing opportunity for your I am wounds, where you've kept yourself small for the sake of others, and that in and of itself may help activate or capitalize on the blessings that are trying to come to you. The other thing is in Scorpio, the thing that's keeping this grand trine active is the parade of personal planets going through Scorpio this month. And those parade of planets are all going to be making an opposition to Uranus. So Uranus is the planet of where we break out of the box, where we want to do things differently, sudden things happening in our world, I would say to us, but I don't subscribe to that. Everything happens for us. Sometimes we just can't get out of our own way, so the universe has to shake things up to get us out of our own way. And it can also be the planet of like sudden insights coming in, sudden knowingness. So those types of things can be activated for you. So now let's go ahead and pull up your chart and look to see what's going on. All right, Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I have your chart up on the screen. So this month is bringing a lot of activity to your first house, your fifth house, and your ninth house, because that is where the water signs of Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces are. So with this hitting your first house, you are definitely going to have a very active month personally, just within your own beingness. First house is the house of the self. It is the house of the body. It is the starting point of the rest of the houses. So it is kind of where everything converges into you and who you are. So with the water Grand Trine and you receiving all this beautiful trine energy from the 9th house and the 5th house, which are both the luckiest houses, you should be having a really lucky month. Not only that, but you have Jupiter in your first house, and Jupiter is the planet of luck and abundance and opportunity and growth and expansion. So this should be a really big month for you, I guess. The only caveat I would say with Jupiter being here and Jupiter being kind of activated all month long is on the downside, since this does pertain to water, and since Jupiter does, and the first house pertains to your body, and Jupiter does pertain to expanding whatever it touches, you may be a little bit more cautious about extra water weight or being more gluttonous with your diet or things like that this month, because that could, anything in excess is not always good. So just be mindful of that. But with Jupiter in your first house, I mean, this is really auspicious. This should be a really good time for you. Jupiter has been here for a while. So, while Jupiter progresses through your house of self, you should be having, a lot of growth opportunities, a lot of perhaps luck and abundance coming your way, or just overall opportunities for you and for your life. As always, you do need to be mindful and be aware. And, when opportunities come, seize them. Opportunities may come, but if we don't do anything to take hold of them, then that's on us, right? But so you will be activated and receiving a lot of opportunities this month, just for yourself in general and related. That these opportunities might spill over into your 5th and 9th house. So next we're going to go ahead and talk about your 9th house. 9th house is the house of our belief systems, any type of belief system, whether that's, our religious beliefs, our political beliefs, the beliefs that we build and structure our lives on. It's also the house of foreign travel, long distance travel, people from foreign cultures, and then it is a house of teaching and or higher education, higher studies. So you might have opportunities to either travel or to teach or to take a class of some sort this month. And with this water Grand Trine, what we're going to be working with in particular is this Neptune and Saturn. And they've been working with you for a while here in your 9th house. Neptune has been working with you since about 2011 in this house, and Neptune and Pisces are both very, spiritually related houses. So it might be interesting to look back since 2011 to see how you have grown in your spiritual beliefs and just your overall belief systems and how they've changed. And we are now with Neptune at retrograde at 29 degrees of Pisces. We are in the final closeout stage of really honing in and dialing in what our belief systems are, getting rid of any that we've either been deluded by or deceived by or anything like that. It's time to now let those things go. And then overall as well, wherever Pisces is in your chart, which for you is the 9th house, can be an area where we tend to lack boundaries. Pisces is a beautiful energy because it is very compassionate, it's very empathic, it's very in tune at its highest level with the universality of everything, with the one love that we are all divine creatures and divine beings and we are all connected. Pisces is very much that energy, which being in your 9th house of belief systems is pretty incredible. However, sometimes we can lack boundaries. So in this area, that is the more negative side of Pisces. So it could be that, we may struggle with belief systems and really holding on to one, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Or we could, 9th house is also kind of our goals for the future and where we, want to head. So it could be that you have not really been able to pick a path, perhaps, or picked paths based on what other people have told you should pick, or things like that. And that's where Saturn has really been working with you for the last 2.5 years. So Neptune's influence is a little bit more subtle. Saturn, since its time spent in each sign is shorter, and it is here to teach us lessons, it can be a little bit more noticeable in its journey. So over the last 2.5 years, you've probably been, doing a lot of boundary work in this area. And it could be, if you are a teacher or studying, anything like that, it could be that you've been putting in boundaries, to make sure you have the space in order to do these things. Maybe you have, maybe there's some type of boundary issue in regards to traveling or just boundaries around your belief system. Maybe you've been one that has taken on with the lack of boundaries possible. Maybe you just take on whatever beliefs the people around you are experiencing and having, and have had trouble really carving out and being able to hone in on what your actual beliefs are. Saturn has been working here with you because it likes to build boundaries, build foundations, and so it has been working with you the last 2.5 years to really, solidify what your beliefs are versus what others. And then the other thing with Pisces, sometimes, or any energy, sometimes, if we have too much of it, we kind of try to counteract it. So instead of not having any boundaries, it could be that this is an area where you have too many walls and aren't able to hear or listen to other people's ideas, other people's belief systems. Perhaps you're too close-minded and go the opposite way with that Pisces energy to protect yourself, kind of. And if that's the case, then Neptune has been working with Saturn in here to dissolve those walls and instead create healthy boundaries. So walls are not necessarily good, but boundaries can be very healthy. So you'll be getting a lot more opportunity this month to really hone in your belief systems and hone in any opportunities for teaching or higher education that you have been working towards, and kind of finish them up. And then the 5th house over here is the house that's going to be most active, because that's where Scorpio is, and it is Scorpio season after all. And this is where the parade of planets is going to be going through to keep this water Grand Trine active all month long. So at the beginning of the month, on November 4th, which is the date of this this chart that we have up right here, we had Mars engaged in this Grand Water Trine, which, Mars is our motivation, our willpower, our warrior spirit. It shows us where and what we're willing to fight for. And with Mars and Scorpio, you're willing to fight for, and in your 5th house, for the truth of who you are. 5th house is our joy, our creativity, our romance, our children, our inner child. 5th house is where we, with our joy and creativity, it's that type of joy that you experience when you're doing something and you lose all track of time and you don't know when you've eaten, you haven't slept, those type of activities. And so that is going to be active all month long. And with Mars, it was probably a very dynamic time. You probably had a lot of motivation and a lot of creativity that day. And then we will also have, during this month, the sun will eventually be over here as well as the season closes down, and that will be highlighting, already it's highlighting the 5th house and all the themes that I just brought up. But when it engages with this water Grand Trine, it is also going to shine a light on how you embody your joy, your creativity, your passion, how you engage with your children. It is going to be highlighting how your internal belief systems, how your passions show up in your belief systems, or, maybe your entrepreneurship, how maybe you can go back to school for your passions and your creativity, or maybe you can start teaching them. There might be, windows of opportunity for that when the sun is there that really shines a light on how you can share your gifts with the world. When Venus comes over into this area, it's going to be bringing luck and love and finances. So, potentially some opportunities with regards to entrepreneurship, if that is a thing for you, or just more luck and love in your finances, perhaps something related to do with your children or your inner child, or just bringing opportunity for more joy and love into your life. And then Mercury will be retrograding back into Scorpio as well. When Mercury retrogrades into Scorpio, of course, Mercury retrograde brings all the things that Mercury retrograde brings, like potentials for miscommunication. So that includes miscommunication, especially for you, with this being in your 5th house, with your romantic partner or your children. So keep that in mind. But it also brings our energy and our mind more internally. So you might be thinking back to, what types of stuff did I enjoy doing when I was a kid? And do I still enjoy doing that? And do I make time for it? And if I don't, why not? Those could be things that come into your awareness as Mercury retrograde is there, perhaps giving you an opportunity to engage in that and align your joy with your beliefs and with who you are. So that is exciting. We also will have a new moon here, bringing lots of new opportunities to your 5th house. So perhaps new entrepreneurship opportunities, new opportunities to engage in your joy and your creativity and your passions, new opportunities for children, new opportunities for romance and exploring that. So that could be very exciting. So this could really be a very exciting month with all of this activity in the 9th house. There might be some paradigm shifts and everything, but it will, with the water Grand Trine, it's very supportive, very lucky, very abundant energy, especially with Jupiter involved. So it should be good overall. Like I discussed in the beginning, though, whenever we have this beautiful, supportive energy going on, bringing us all sorts of luck and abundance and opportunity, sometimes we miss seeing it, or we see it but we think it's just going to happen and we don't have to do anything to really take hold of the opportunities that are coming to us. So sometimes it's very beneficial to have a little bit of challenge, a little bit of disruption, I guess, in order to get us to see the opportunities that are right in front of us. And so the two things going on this month is the square, a continuous square between Jupiter in your first house and Chiron and Aries in your 10th house. So Chiron and Aries is our wounded I am. It's where we've kept ourselves small for the sake of other people, things of that nature. This could be where you've perhaps kept yourself small in your career and not felt like you could take a stand, or not felt like maybe you got passed over for promotions or things like that. There's some type of wound there regarding staying small for the sake of others in your career or in your public image somehow. And so Jupiter squaring that is going to bring a lot of opportunities. So this could be related to something regarding, acting on an entrepreneurship opportunity to kind of heal this wound, or just opportunities to expand yourself, with Jupiter being the planet of expansion, and having that courage to really be seen in the public sphere or in your career, or to make your voice heard. And by doing so, that will heal, help heal this wound, as well as open up opportunities for yourself, and engaging more in your joy, and maybe altering your belief systems, or engaging in opportunities to teach. Maybe you'll have a teaching opportunity in your career show up. Something along those lines could be happening for you this month with that square. And then the other active piece we have is this: as this parade of planets goes through Scorpio, it's going to be opposing Uranus in Gemini at first, and by now Uranus has retrograded back into Taurus. So Uranus is the planet of sudden shift, sudden shakeups, sudden ideas coming through, sudden knowingness. But it is, considered kind of the planet of disruption. I kind of think of it like one of those jars that you shake and the snow falls, snow globe. And, it's coming to shake things up sometimes, because especially in Taurus is a fixed sign. So it could be where we are too stubborn to make changes for ourselves. And I believe that life is always happening for us, not to us. So Uranus comes to shake things up in areas where we may be too stubborn to do it ourselves. But, it can also just be sudden insights, sudden things like that. But so these shakeups, oppositions are asking you to kind of balance things. So this is asking you to balance the fifth house of you at your core, your joy, like who you are when you're feeling best and happiest, and how you take that individuality, that uniqueness of you, and bring it out into the world and shake things up in the world. This is where you don't want to just keep this joy to yourself. You're being asked to share it with everybody else all month long and kind of break the mold. 11th house is the house of friendships, the groups we belong to. So don't be afraid to be who you are, and let yourself fully shine. And you might, it might disrupt things. It might disrupt some friendships or groups that you're involved in, but it'll be a good thing and might be something you need. Maybe, shaking up some friendships that you've held on to for too long, bringing in new groups that are more aligned with who you are and who you want to be. Things of that nature could be coming up for you, and helping you seize opportunities again for potentially teaching or new belief systems or whatever, but it should be bringing good things. And then to go through just what is going on this month. So half of this will be a recap, clearly, since we are halfway through the month, but later this day on November 4th, Mars did move into Sagittarius. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, you can listen to the daily short I had for November 4th. On the 5th, we had a full moon in Taurus, highlighting this area of your chart. So you can go back and listen to the full moon episode that I did for the full moon in Taurus. On the 7th is when Uranus retrograded back into Taurus. And it'll be here until the beginning of next year before it will move back into Gemini for the remainder of its cycle in Gemini. It won't be going back to Taurus again. So while it is in Taurus, any shakeups that, it has been trying to do for you since it got here, I believe about 7 years ago, finish making those changes before it moves into Gemini next year for good. On the 11th, so a few days ago, Jupiter turned retrograde in your first house. Anytime a planet turns retrograde, it does bring the energy more internal. So this could be, reviewing opportunities that you may have missed and why you didn't act upon them, or reviewing how you've treated your body in the past. But Jupiter can also bring up opportunities, bring back around opportunities that we missed. So it's not just a review, it can bring them back around as well. So keep your eyes open for that. On the 9th, Mercury turned retrograde in Sagittarius. On the 18th, so in a few days, it will retrograde back into Scorpio, and then it won't turn direct until the end of the month. So for the rest of the month, Mercury will be retrograde, so we can expect those miscommunications, those, changes in travel plans or things not going exactly as planned, things of that nature. But as well, we can expect, to have our mind go more internally into, our passions and our creativity, and reviewing those things that we may have loved in the past that we want to start revisiting. On the 19th, so here in a few days, we will have the new moon in your 5th house, bringing new opportunities there. And then on the 27th, Saturn will turn direct. And I believe this is really beautiful that Saturn is the first of the outer planets turning direct, because Saturn is boundaries and restrictions and things like that. But it is also the foundation. Saturn is what brings things into our 3D world and manifests them and constructs them and builds them from the ground up. So I think it's really beautiful when you build a house. You don't start with the roof, you start with the foundation, and that is what the astrology is doing for us as we're working, and have been all year on closing out a lot of this stuff in Pisces, so that we can begin this incredible new version of us when Saturn and Neptune meet up at 0 degrees of Aries next year. And we, get to really start to embody the new us and the new collective world. Saturn is the one that is starting with us figuring out these foundations so that we can move into, for you in particular, into your career, headstrong with a game plan, taking all the lessons that we've learned and all the boundaries that we need, healthy boundaries, not walls, to really be the best version that we can be. So I think that is really beautiful. And comment below with how you're feeling this November energy, and if you have any questions or anything like that. And I do try to post. I am a little bit behind because I've been moving, but I do try to post the daily astrology as well. And if I'm not able to, then I do eventually do astrology in hindsight, which is kind of fun to look back at a day and see how the astrology manifested in our own lives. Sometimes in hindsight, it is more fun to look at than at like the beginning of a day. So I hope you enjoy that. And if you could give me a like, comment, subscribe, anything to help this tiny little channel grow, that would be very much appreciated. Otherwise, I will see you back here next month.